Hey, what's up guys? MTG Tournament Grinder here, and welcome to this week's episode of Modern. This time it's a Hardened Scales versus a new one I haven't seen before, at least not while piloting Hardened Scales. Black-White Tokens. So, I will tell you now, spoiler alert, this is a super good match. When I was done filming, my opponent and I both just thought, wow, I'm so glad we recorded that. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I think I have a pretty bonkers turn 1. So I'm on my way to Metalcraft. Nice. Animation module early, always a good thing. And use green for Hardened Scales. What? There's more? Oh my goodness. That's right. Basilisk Collar. I've been trying Basilisk Collar recently to mixed results. I think against like Tarmogoyfs, it's really good. But in this matchup where he's gonna go wide with a bunch of tokens, it is pretty bad. I'm still experimenting with it, so like at this point I'm just on cloud 9 about having a Basilisk Collar as well as a Hardened Scales on turn 1. But really it's the animation module more than the Basilisk Collar that's good to have on the battlefield. And we are off to the races. In step, raise the alarm. So 2/1/1 seem pretty ineffectual, but this deck has access to all kinds of enchantments that like give +1/+1 to his creatures and stuff like that. So there probably won't be 1/1s for very long. And the land he has in play, Vault of the Archangel. Soon that'll be really good. So yeah, see, here's that enchantment I was thinking of. Intangible Virtue. Swing for 4. I mean, that seems right. Obviously, I'm not going to chump with the servo. And yeah, the Hangerback Walker is more valuable to me with more counters on it. So take 4 for now. A forest and something else. I can't quite see what's in my hand here. Looks like we're about to find out. Oh, nope. Teaser. Well, I mean, Death Touch Lifelink is pretty sweet seeming. But because I did that, I don't have 3 mana. Like, I can't activate the animation module. Its second ability. Okay, yes I can. Wow. Lots of Mox Opals this game. So that's what I thought was going to be the better line. I'm glad that I had a Mox Opal in hand, so I was able to do it. But Hardened Scales just makes interacting with counters in any way, shape, or form probably your most valuable like line that you could do. Unless your opponent has a path, of course. Well, that stings a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of in a bad place now. He is still going to keep beating in for 4. My blocks are even worse. I'm empty-handed. I just gotta hope I top deck some fire, really. Yeah, swing for 4. Looks like I'm willing to chump at this point. So, Walking Ballista I could do for 2, but instead 3. And also make another chump blocker. Nope. Welding Jar's not going to do it. Yeah, meanwhile, he just keeps beating him for 4. I'm not really sure what I have here. I mean, a Walking Ballista would be really good. Still Overseer is not bad. It doesn't do anything now. Like, I'm definitely going to go to 6. But, I mean, I've turned the corner while the chips were down in the past. I don't think that's entirely impossible, but it's looking super unlikely. Oh, only 20 more fetch lands and I am golden. 4 mana is kind of scary. Oh my goodness. So all his creatures get +1/+1. And that kills my Steel Overseer. Actually, in such a way where Welding Jar can't even save it. Welding Jar saves it from if it would be destroyed. And -1/-1 is not a destroy effect. Yeah. Concede, I think, is the line here. Well, darn, that hand was so exciting. He just had the right removal at the right time. So, let's check out some sideboarding, and I'll see you guys in game 2. As for the sideboarding, I brought in 2 copies of Heroic Intervention. This card is best at protecting you from board wipes, but I'm not sure if Black-White Tokens, with its go-wide strategy, will even play board wipes, so it's possible that won't even come up. But if it does, I want to be protected. It's more likely that I will use it in response to a Path to Exile, probably, or maybe a Fatal Push. But because tokens just go so wide, and often just turns everything sideways, it might be nice to make what would otherwise be unprofitable blocks, and then cast Heroic Intervention, all my things live, and then I win on the crackback, potentially. I think that's a good use for this card. I also brought in 4 copies of Nature's Claim. If your opponent is playing the color white, you can't afford to not bring in Nature's Claims. Even just the possibility of a Stony Silence makes this card worth playing. And against Black-White Tokens, they also have cards like Intangible Virtue, and perhaps other enchantments that buff all their creature tokens. So it's here for Stony Silence, but it has upside of hitting other relevant cards, so that's good. As far as the cards that I took out both copies of Basilisk Collar. While I have been enjoying this card, I think against a deck that plays Lingering Souls, Basilisk Collar is just pretty unexciting. The whole idea is to put it on a Walking Ballista and shoot down big guys with Death Touch, but if he's just making a bunch of 1/1s that would die to Walking Ballista without the Basilisk Collar, it seems less than ideal in this matchup. I also took out 3 copies of Welding Jar, because Black-White Token's main removal spell is Path to Exile. I guess also Fatal Push, but Welding Jar does not protect me from Path to Exile. So I went ahead and took out all 3 copies of that, and, like usual, a single copy of Horizon Canopy. As for my opponent, he did indeed bring in 2 copies of Stony Silence. Those Nature's Claims are going to come in real handy. And then 2 copies of Sundering Growth. That is a Selesnya card. Destroy target artifact, then populate. So of course destroy target artifact effects are good, but particularly for this Black-White Tokens build, being able to populate and make another Lingering Souls token, or a Raise the Alarm or Secure the Wastes token could be pretty good. It's just pure upside. It makes the card worth playing, I think. As far as what he took out 2 copies of Bitter Blossom, and I'm trying to come up with some good reasons here, and I just don't know the deck well enough. So if you can think of why my opponent took out 2 Bitter Blossoms, let me know in the comments below. He also took out a single copy of Dismember, which I think I agree with. The potential to lose 4 life against a deck that's as fast as Hardened Scales is pretty scary, and I think that's a good enough reason not to play Dismember. And he also brought out 1 copy of Elspeth, Sun's Champion. And the main problem with this card is that it costs 6 mana. By the time either of us have 6 mana on board, the game's probably over at that point. Well, that about wraps it up for the sideboarding, so let's go ahead and jump back into game 2 and see how it goes. And we're back with game 2. I am still in a state of disbelief that I couldn't win game 1, as good as my opening hand was. But that's okay. I mean, my opponent just had really good removal at all the right times. And sometimes that's how it goes. So, a much more modest start this time. Pendlehaven Arcbound Worker. I anticipate the Arcbound Worker getting removed. Oh my goodness, okay. That seems to be a trend. It's like, play the modular creature with nothing else on the battlefield. My opponent immediately thinks, okay, this is my opportunity. Interesting hand. So it looks like I'm gearing up to make Metalcraft. That is my second artifact. Yep, set down the Mox. And I have the opportunity to play a 2-drop here. Either Arcbound or Walking Ballista. Interesting. So it looks like I instead have decided to leave up Pendlehaven. Use it to activate. Uh-oh. I think I may have actually reached for my Pendlehaven a little too quickly there. I mean, if he had the Fatal Push, he was going to use it either way, but I'm afraid I may have telegraphed my intentions by reaching for Pendlehaven so quickly. Yikes. Into an Inquisition. So now he gets to take his pick. And yeah, and it seems pretty obvious. In this matchup, blocking Ballista is just insane. So if I had played one of my 2-drops left in hand, I would have had the one that I didn't play and an Arcbound Worker. And he would have Fatal Pushed the one that I did play and Inquisition the 2-drop that I didn't play. So by some weird turn of events, actually playing out all the Arcbound Workers like that saved whichever one he didn't choose. In this case, it happened to be the Arcbound Ravager. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if that occurred to me on the day of recording, but I'm certainly seeing that now. So this is game 2. My opponent has a white source and 2 mana. So there is a particular 2-drop white enchantment that I'm just really hoping he doesn't play here. And he's fetching. So he's got a 2-drop. Or I guess 2 1-drops. Oh goodness. It was a 2-drop white enchantment, but just not Stony Silence. So that's good. Looks like I drew a Nature's Claim, if my eyes don't deceive me. Yep. No permanents to put on the battlefield, so I'll just rinse, wash, and repeat my last turn. There's something to be said for having sacked the Mox Opal there. That would have made it 6, gone to 9. And I, depending on what I draw, there's a chance that I could have top decked my way into 9 damage this turn. But that's just assuming my opponent doesn't have any interaction. Okay, secure the wastes. I'm not sure if that counts as interaction, but it's certainly a something I didn't see coming. So while it's on the stack, yeah. Now that that intangible virtue is actually a good target for the Nature's Claim. Like if he just immediately top decks a Stony Silence, I'm gonna feel pretty dumb for using my Nature's Claim in that way. But 2 1/1s I can deal with. 2 2/2s, that's a lot more difficult actually. Interesting, no blocks. So, in response to no blocks, pump my guy. Yeah, I think that if he had blocked, obviously he would have lost both of his creatures. And that's probably not the line that leads to him winning the game. Life is a resource just like anything else. And going to 9 might be a little scary. Okay, yeah, another intangible virtue. That's why you wanted to keep the tokens. Oh my gosh. Another Nature's Claim. Well, I mean, if I'm only dealing 5 damage per turn while gaining him 4 life, this game is going nowhere fast. Alright, relevant card off the top. Nope. It looked like a forest. Well, keep on keeping on, I guess. Make it 5. Go to 8 this time. Alright, eventually one of us will draw a card that changes the board state. Because right now we're both seemingly at a standstill. He's got 4 cards in hand though. I've only got 2. I can't quite see what he's got going on. Yikes, Gideon. So that was good for making 2/2s. But it also makes its emblem is essentially an intangible virtue that I can't blow up with a Nature's Claim. Oh, and that's what he has planned. Yep, so now he's got an intangible virtue that I just cannot deal with. Yep, take 4. Well, we shall see. Heroic Intervention off the top, and I still have another Nature's Claim in hand. My goodness. I mean, you can't complain about drawing sideboard cards, but wow. I've drawn so many Nature's Claims that I don't even have any good targets because I've been using them. Alright, so I remember this play. When I tap my Pendlehaven to pump and I point it at the Arcbound Worker, that's where it all went wrong. I can't sack things to that Arcbound Worker, and every point of damage counts. So I absolutely needed to pump the Arcbound Ravager, who was still a 1/1, before I sack anything. I don't think I've realized my mistake at this point, so I'm gonna kind of commit. So I'm explaining to my opponent exactly how sacking modular to modular works. It's like activate Arcbound's ability, he gets a counter from his own ability, and then Worker goes to the graveyard, 2 counters move over. Yeah, and I think I have lethal here, because I in fact would if I had sacked, or if I had pumped the Arcbound Ravager with the Pendlehaven. And right now I'm doing my math. I don't think the panic is setting in. I'm going, oh no. Because right now it's 7. If I had pumped the Arcbound Ravager, it would still be 7, but I could activate the Ravager's ability and get that extra counter out of sacking modular to modular for a total of 8. But now if I sack the Arcbound Worker, I sack the creature that I pumped, and it is not 8. So instead of leaving myself with all my eggs in one basket, I'm going to stop sacking my board. I've realized my mistake, and just take 7, go to 1. Feels bad, man. Oh, and I was so disgruntled for my misplay, I almost forgot to play my land per turn. And I drew that Heroic Intervention. So if I had just made that misplay, took him to 1, and then forgot to play my land per turn, didn't hold up Heroic Intervention, wow. That would have been an otherwise good game falling apart at the finish line. That's a good card. So I know I have a Stony Silence, my answer to Stony Silence. I have a Nature's Claim and a Heroic Intervention. I could Nature's Claim now, but that gains him 4 life, back up to 5. Makes my my job of killing him a little more difficult. And Heroic Intervention is also a pretty good spell. So this is a big turn. It's how I plan on using my sideboard cards that really matters here. Path to Exile. Well, that's what that Heroic Intervention is for. Yep. I feel like there's a lot of choices here. Another line was, in response to Path to Exile, blow up Stony Silence with Nature's Claim. Pump my guy. Yeah. But I get distracted. Another option would have been to blow up Stony Silence and then all with Path on the stack, sack the Arcbound Ravager to the Arcbound Worker. But that would have left me with all my eggs in one basket, yet again. And that's something I'm trying to avoid. So now I am tapped out, Nature's Claim in hand. I've got the answer for Stony Silence. Yep, and there it is. Well, I'm not sure how I managed to win that game, but not game 1. But I'll take it. And since there is going to be a game 3 after all, I guess let's go ahead and jump into game 3 and see how that goes. And we are back with game 3. Looks like I'm on a mull to 6. A Scries and Ancient Stirrings, and I already have 2 Ancient Stirrings in hand with a green source. Yeah, I don't think I need that Ancient Stirrings. Swamp Pass. Holding up a Fatal Push, perhaps. Like we saw in game 1, that would make sense. If I'm not going to Ancient Stirrings turn 1, then I think playing the Ink Moth is correct. Although there is an argument to be made for playing Ancient Stirrings turn 1. Oh, interesting. No 1-drop or 2-drop play for my opponent. So maybe, in retrospect, it was correct to play my creature on turn 1 instead of an Ancient Stirrings. Now, there's the Fatal Push. Oh, I see. So I have my Ink Moth activated when modular happens. I mean, with the ability to gain so much life, only having to deal 10 infect could be a huge shortcut against black-white tokens. While I'm doing that, my opponent is just going to go ahead and fetch. Not bad. Hangerback Walker or Steel Overseer, I think, is the pick. Steel Overseer because he's always good, but Hangerback Walker because it's whenever it is removed, at least you get 1/1s out of the deal, and the 1/1s have flying, so it can block his Lingering Souls tokens. Yeah, that makes sense. Although, putting a Steel Overseer on the bottom of my library, it kind of sucks whenever you Ancient Stirrings and it's a whole bunch of good cards. Ideally, I guess you want to see, if you already have all the land that you'll need, put 3 lands on the bottom or something, and a bad card, and take the 1 good card. Well, I'm trying to look at my hand, and it looks like I don't have a whole lot of threats. Ooh, I drew a Ravager. Okay. So I have Arcbound Ravager and a Hangerback Walker in my hand. So considering those two things, I wish I could take the Hardened Scales, but yeah, Steel Overseer. That makes putting the other Steel Overseer on the bottom not feel quite so bad. Hangerback Walker. There's an argument to be made for playing Steel Overseer there, but it's so likely to get removed. Whatever I play is so likely to get removed, especially Steel Overseer. Oh wow, Sorin the Solemn Visitor. So that's the one where his plus ability is creatures you control get +2/+0, +1/+0, and lifelink until your next turn. The -2 makes it 2/2 flying vampire. Yep. Not bad. I thought Sorin was so cool when he came out in cons. I was playing Black-White Warriors at the time, and I was pretty intrigued by Sorin. So I love that he's being played in Modern. Yep, Steel Overseer time. My opponent is tapped out, but I think honestly... Oh, interesting. I want to hold up Heroic Intervention. I thought I was going to play Steel Overseer and Arcbound Ravager, in which case playing the Ravager first is correct. I want the Ravager on the battlefield if he does something to the Steel Overseer. Blow up my Ink Moth. I'm not sure if that's really a good use of Heroic Intervention, but I mean, at this point, the possibility of winning with Infect because of Steel Overseer. Oh, so I don't think my opponent realizes that Heroic Intervention says permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So, because I didn't make that super clear, I'm asking. I told my opponent he could take it back, and he's choosing to play with that card revealed. So that's really nice of him. This was a really fun match to play all the way through. Just a really pleasant opponent, and some seriously good magic, I thought. So this time he's plussing it to give the token he made +1/+0 and lifelink. And it already has flying, so yikes. And vigilance because of the 2 intangible virtues, so it's, yeah, swing for 5. That is a big swing. That hurts. Okay, well, drew a Hardened Scales just in time. That is truly a timely draw. The turn I untap with Steel Overseer and have a Hangerback Walker and an Arcbound Ravager in hand. Jeesh. I wonder what the other card in my hand is. If I was inclined not to play my Arcbound Ravager, then I'm kind of confused. I mean, waiting until my opponent's turn to activate Steel Overseer is good. There's a chance I'll get to use him as a blocker. Like, potentially. Technically. Oh my goodness, another Heroic Intervention. I think there's only 2 in my sideboard, and it was a new addition to my sideboard this night. So I am pretty pleased having seen them so much. So this is an interesting question, actually. Me and my opponent have called the judge over. If I protect my artifact with a card like Heroic Intervention, does the populate effect still happen from Sundering Growth? So it does fizzle because it says then populate. So it does have to destroy in order to populate, says the judge. And that makes sense. Destroy target artifact, then populate. So if it doesn't destroy, then the populate doesn't resolve. I mean, that makes sense. But you want to be sure. I'm pretty sure that makes a big difference on this board state. Yikes. Taking the beats. So I have my opponents in step. Interesting. So instead of using the Ink Moth to activate itself to catch counters, I'm instead just going to double up on the Hangerback Walker. My opponent does have white mana up, so if he's got a path to exile, committing in that way would feel really bad. Because of course exiling the Hangerback Walker means that I don't get the tokens. Finally. Had that sweet card in my hand for a while, and I technically could have played it, but instead I was holding up Heroic Interventions. In hindsight, it seems like the right play. But man, that must have been killing me on the day of recording. Or just holding that card in my hand. It's not really my style. Even though it was the right play, I don't want to say that the right play is not my style. But usually with Affinity, you just drop all your cards, make threats, kill your opponent quickly. I guess this is just kind of a unique matchup where my opponent has lots of removal, and it's worth it to me to hold up cards like Heroic Intervention. But darn it, Souls is such a good card against me. Yeah, by the way, they're just 3/3s, no big deal. And because he plussed, actually they're 4/3s with lifelink and vigilance. So because I have the Ravager now, I'm able to, I have a sack outlet. I can sack the Hangerback Walker. But not before I make as many tokens as possible. So that's putting 2 more counters on everything. Oh, yikes. I'm watching myself make a mistake in slow motion. I doubt I have a use for that Inkmoth Nexus, and I should have activated it in response to the Steel Overseer's ability. Or just sometime before I did the Steel Overseer. But that's okay. 9 Thopters is pretty dope. So that thing is a 5/4, although I believe that I am under the impression it's a 5/5. So just to be extra careful about removal, I threw six tokens in front of it. That way, if he had removal, I could still kill him, or still make favorable blocks. So I get to untap with my Seal Overseer and 4 Thopters. So things are looking up. I mean, none of my creatures have lifelink, and I'm at 10, my opponent is at 34. But I will say, oh my gosh, so scratch that, make that 38. I guess I forgot it's a 1-drop. I tapped a little too much mana there. I tapped 3 mana for two 1-drop spells. But regardless, I'm empty-handed. Looks like I have nothing else to do with the mana. That's a lie. I could have used it to activate the Inkmoth Nexus. And he absolutely has to block the Inkmoth Nexus. Because it's threatening lethal. Or it would have been if I hadn't have misplayed. So that's 1 blocking the Nexus for sure. And then he'll block the Ravager, I would assume. But I can forget about the Inkmoth. I already made that mistake. Water under the bridge. I mean, I think his best bet is just to trade, if he's interested in trading at all, trade with 2 of my Thopters. Because they're just going to get like crazy. And also the Thopters are all attacking at Sorin, and the Arcbound Ravager is attacking at face. So no blocks, Sorin dies, takes 8, goes back to 34. I gained him 8 life with those Nature's Claims and then swung for 8, so headway feels slow, but it is being made. Honestly, at this point, anything short of a board wipe, oh my gosh, or 2 more intangible virtues, that's pretty good. But I think it's gonna take a serious reset button for my opponent to turn the corner. Well, he almost got me there. I was not expecting 2 intangible virtues. I thought, I can take 2. I'll tap out to apply the pressure. Oh, Mox Opal. Well, I mean, with Hardened Scales on the battlefield, that's 2 more counters on a Ravager, if I'm so inclined. It's no Ballista, though. A Ballista on this board state would just win the game. Ballista for 2, but instead it's 3. And dump 10 counters on there, blow up his board, swing. So, it looks like I'm not making the same mistake twice. One of his 2 blockers simply must block the Inkmoth Nexus because it's threatening lethal. And then the other biggest attacker will be the Arcbound Ravager itself. And then that's 3 or 4 5/5s they get through. Taking the timid approach. I mean, I think of course I have to take the timid approach. If he gets to swing, he kills me. And I was not presenting lethal, I don't think anyways. Not without the help of a walking ballista or something like that. Right, so block the infect because he absolutely has to. Feels bad, man. I had to leave back the blockers, but only actually getting in for 5 when I have this much power on board. A little lackluster. Oh, not just 5. It's not just the Thopter. It's the Thopter and the Ravager. Okay, so that's quite a bit, actually. 15. Well, my goodness. There was a point in this game earlier where 2 intangible virtues plus a Sorin, and he was like beating me down with his 2/2 flying vampire token. I was hoping to stabilize at 10, but he kind of gave me a real scare by dropping those last 2 intangible virtues. And this is time in the round. So through the magic of editing, this is probably a little bit longer of a video, but 50 minutes have passed in game play. My opponent, I think, can maybe survive. Okay, flashback Lingering Souls. Hardcast another copy of Lingering Souls if he has it in his hand. Then he's got some serious blocks. I'm not sure if I could kill him if that's the case. But his life total is low enough to where I think whichever creature goes unblocked, that I can just dump all the counters on there from the Arcbind Ravager. Okay. That's kind of the nail in the coffin, I think. He can have removal in hand, and because there's 2 Ravagers, if he only has the 1 card in hand and it's removal, that would not be enough. So continuing to keep back blocks. I know he has to block the Ink Moth. Yep, so I'm sorry, I'm just doing all the math here. And then the math in this deck can be quite difficult sometimes. This is kind of an extreme example, but 12, 18... 18. Hey, that's the magic number. Wow, what a great game of Magic. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I found this match just to be particularly fun, and this opponent to be a particularly good sport. So, as usual, if you enjoy content like this, you can let me know in the comments below, or by hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to check me out on Twitch, Twitter, I've got a Facebook page now. I'll have all those links in the description below, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.